Cry Freedom Soundbite number 39, Monday the 6th of November 2017. I suspect that a lot of us have been doing a lot of thinking recently about this existence and what it's all for and what it all means and what our roles are within it and the best way to go. I certainly have, especially the last few days. And I'm guessing it's a kind of Samhain thing, because it's that time of year to be thinking about all these type of things. And, well, it's not just that, is it? It's the time that we're at in time. This year has felt extremely significant to a lot of us, because it's meant to, and it is. And it's like we're reaching the crescendo of the year that a lot of us have been unsure about what's going to happen. Again, this has been the story for many years now, that we're in this situation where we see these things behind what normal people seem to see, and we hear things and we know how things are getting done to some extent, not to all extents. And it's been a massive time of great uncertainty, and if you allow it, fear for what's going to happen and what's going to be done. And it's very hard to fight that fear sometimes, and there's so many different scenarios of what might happen. And this is, of course, all part of the fear-mongering and the control to keep people, fraught and tense and uncertain. So it's been very hard for many of us. It's been hard for even people that can't see what's going on, but for people that do see, even harder. And I know a lot of people have been suffering very much recently, because it's almost come to a sort of a head of explosion that you just, people are breaking down and finding it difficult, and it's completely and utterly understandable. So one of the questions that I was asking myself is, why am I doing what I'm doing at the moment? And is it helping anyone? And the reason that I was asking myself that was because it's been said to me that I could be a bit patronising and uninformed and insincere. And these are words, obviously, that are not easy to listen to when someone's saying that about you. And it's something I've never wanted to be, any of those things. But obviously you start thinking then about yourself and why you're doing what you're doing. I tend to like to think that I always make it clear that I'm certainly no expert on anything, and some people would say, well, in that case you shouldn't be talking. Fair enough. I'm never insincere as far as I'm concerned. I always mean what I say when I say it. So that one's probably the most painful one to listen to. But again, I'm taking things in different ways these days, and I'm not getting offended, and I'm not being insulted by things. I'm seeing it as a message coming from somewhere that I need to listen to for whatever reason. So that's how I look at things. So why am I doing these audios? Okay, there's no great audience out there, and in many ways I think perhaps it's something I need to do for me. It's an expression of me that I need to record and just get out of myself, possibly. The other reason I feel I do these things is because I like to share what I go through and what I feel and what my understandings are and how they change. And I suppose the reason, why do I want to share? I do genuinely want to help other people if I can in any way. And it seems that since I started waking up properly back in, 2010, 2011, although I've always been different the whole of my life, I've always sort of looked at things in a different way, but that was when it really came out. And that was when I started first doing shows and things. I honestly started it because I wanted to, like most of us, sort of almost scream out at people the truth of what we see as the truth, even if that is the truth. and that was why, because a lot of us feel an absolute compulsion to do that. And I think most of us feel that compulsion because we do care about this planet and the people on it and the animals on it and the nature and the way of life and the suffering and pain. And that's why a lot of us do it. There are some people out there that do it from ego as well, because they see an opportunity to make a bit of money and feel good about themselves. And this is one of the other things that has been said, that I'm a bit of a new age hippie type, and I want to just look at the love side of things and not acknowledge the dark and the hate side. And I dispute that, actually, because I've never done that, I don't think. I've always looked at the other side. I'm completely and utterly aware that it's there, unfortunately. And I started off very much talking about the dark side of things when I first got into all of this, and that was what dragged me into it, because of my awareness of it. It's not that I can't face it. I've been out there on the front line doing things, fighting against things. So it's not that I'm not aware of the dark side. And yeah, I do try and be positive as much as I can. And I try to put things out there that will maybe make people feel a little bit better, a little bit warmer, have a little bit more faith, given everything else that's hurled at us, and how bleak it can appear sometimes, and how useless humanity can come across. And that, again, is all part of a sort of well laid out plan by those who have the knowledge to keep people in this sort of, downward spiral of non-faith in ourselves and this existence. There are people, as we all know, out there that have certain knowledges that they keep from us, that we're led to believe used to be more freely available to everybody, but they hijacked all of that and kept it for themselves for their own gain. And these are the people that seem to be currently in control of this planet and who knows what else. It is again all about energy. We always get back to energy, because that is one of the strongest forces, if not the force. And a lot of it is to do with positive and negative, and black and white, and good and bad. And hence the chessboard is being so significant. Many of us know about the work of a Japanese scientist called Dr. Emoto, who apparently worked with directing hate and love at various substances to see what effect it had, if any. And the most famous ones he did were with water. And he would direct love and hate at separate containers of water. And with the water, he would freeze it and then analyse it under microscope. And the results were that the ones that had love directed at them formed these beautifully shaped uniform crystals, and the ones that had the hate were ugly and deformed. I've also heard people talking about houseplants and how some people seem to have plants that thrive within their houses, and others have plants which never ever seem to do well and always end up dying. And some people do put this down to the fact that it depends on the energy, the overriding energy within the house, either given off by yourself or possibly energy that's already in that house. It does resonate with me, it does make sense to me. So this is why I personally do believe in the transference of energy and the effects that can have, depending on the type of energy that you're giving out. So one of the reasons that I do what I do is because there is so much of the bad stuff out there that most people seem to go with and feel bad about and frustrated and angry about. And I feel that it's important that there are some of us out there trying to counterbalance that with the opposite. Not because we're not acknowledging the opposite, we very much are, and that's why we're thinking of doing that. So that's why I do what I do, and I don't do it in an insincere way. I do it because I feel I want to make a difference in some way, and because I can see that's how I choose to do it. And so, yeah, I try to do feel-good stories. I try to share nice things, music, pictures, things that if I listen to something that makes me feel warm inside, my first thought is to share it with others because I want them to feel what I felt. It's not because I'm sitting there thinking, oh, how wonderful am I listening to this, how great am I, and I want everyone to know how great I am listening to this. That's not why I do it. I do it because I have an immediate feeling to share, and they're just words. These are just words, but And yeah, I'm talking about me, but what else can I talk about? All I can talk about is my experiences. And it's not like I'm reaching hundreds and thousands out there, but I feel that if you can reach just one person and make them feel a bit better, then it's worth it. And you might just reach someone at that crucial time when they really need it. And that's why I'm doing it. And I can only say these things, but that's what it means to me. So I sort of hope that most people do pick up on that, and I feel that they do. I welcome all comments and remarks, because it's important to take all of that in and embrace it all, and we all change because of everything around us. We're all catalysts for each other in so many ways. So one of the questions that I've been musing about for so long now, it seems, is this balance between the role that we're supposed to have in that how we deal with the darkness and the light. Okay, so I wanted to read out what the definition of the word New Age is, first of all, according to Google, which is, quote, a broad movement characterised by alternative approaches to traditional Western culture, with an interest in spirituality, mysticism, holism, and environmentalism. End quote. And the other extreme of that is, I suppose, a lot of people would see the New Ageism as a movement of people that want to sit around and smoke joints all day and deny the fact that there's anything bad out there, because quite possibly they can't face up to it anyway, and just sort of stay in fluffy land forever. And yeah, that's the extreme definition of hippie New Ageism. I'm someone that does acknowledge every bad thing that's going on out there and sees it in its darkness and evilness, and because of all of that, I'm doing what I'm doing now. Otherwise I wouldn't be, because if it wasn't there I wouldn't be doing it. So I certainly do acknowledge it. There are a lot more people out there now that are reaching the stage that many of us were at some years ago now, where we first started seeing all of this stuff. And it's more and more and more people every day because of what's happening, because it's becoming so obvious, which again, in some ways, it seems is the way it has to be. It has to be in people's faces, and more things are happening for that reason, we could argue. There's so many ways of looking at this. Is it a dark evil side that's doing these things, or is it in fact something else that's getting people to wake up and see the truth? Or is it a culmination of both? I think one of the things that I find hard is when people get labelled, and I hate being labelled, because, and I'm not saying there aren't some people out there that need to be labelled, because some people are very much in one box with closed minds. The ideal way surely is to look at every single thing and take which part of that resonates with you, feels right with your gut from each of those things. So you're not in one box, you're not labelled, but you're looking at all the labels and taking what works for you out of each of those. And that's what I feel I kind of try to do. So there will indeed be some of New Ageism that appeals to me and that makes sense, and I will take that bit from it. And I'll take other bits from the other parts too, and work with those bits that work for me. So it's about being completely open-minded and open-hearted and looking at everything and not judging others too harshly because they don't see the same things that you do. And that's not to say we can accept that the people that are looking at things in completely the wrong way. It's more about trying to... Right, okay. As soon as I say I'm trying to show people something, that makes it sound like I think I'm something special, on some sort of pedestal. And I don't think that. I know I've got so much to learn. I don't think that, but that doesn't mean that I still don't think I can maybe help, because I'm open to saying things and I'm not afraid to say things that maybe others won't. You see, there's the whole aspect that is this completely personal trip, an experience that we shouldn't share with anyone anyway. But if that was the case, then none of us would be saying anything about anything. We'd just be sitting on our own talking to ourselves, wouldn't we? So you could say that about every single person that shares anything. You see what I'm saying? I think it's both. I think this life is very much about, and I'm thinking of these two circles intersecting now, and the intersecting bit. It's like the good and the bad, but it's the intersection of the both that's the important part. So maybe these audios are just a way of me cataloguing my own trip. Possibly that's what it is, instead of writing it down. I don't know. I really don't know. And when it comes really down to it, I acknowledge that there are different groups of people out there. There are the people that have been studying this for decades that have a very high understanding of it. There's a lot of those that are in the so-called, whatever you want to call them, people that rule things, and people that aren't involved in that side of it, but have strived themselves to find out and come across things that have helped them to learn a lot more than the average Joe, shall we say. And I completely respect those people for the effort and the work they put in for so long. And those people are a valuable part of this moving forward, extremely so. Then there are other people sort of in the middle that haven't quite had that extension of knowledge and realise it's there completely and see the outskirts of it, shall we say, but haven't got to the deep researched acknowledgements yet. And in some ways, I suppose, we feel that we've missed the boat on that one because of the timings and because of where we're at now. But, I could probably do with another 20 odd years of deep study to get to where I'd love to be, but it feels that it's too late for that. So I suppose in some ways that's why I'm doing what I do without full knowledge, because I know there's a lot of people that are at the other side of it then, that are where I was 8 years ago or so. And maybe I'm just trying to give the sort of benefit of what I've been through to people like that, if indeed they're even listening. So, you can go on and on analysing all of this, and this is one of the things that is coming at me at the moment, is we overanalyse everything, and we shouldn't be. We should just go with what we feel and trust it. And that's what I'm doing. And no words can explain that better than that's what I'm doing right now. So if I have sounded patronising, I do apologise. I never meant to. I don't intend to come across that way. And I am sincere in everything that I say. I've never profited from any of this in any way at all. The opposite. In fact, that's all fine. I'm not complaining. But I just need people to realise that I'm only doing this from the heart because it feels it's something I'm meant to do. So it's all good and positive, and we need to go and kick some ass, guys, because it's all coming out now. It really is. So this is another reason why we need to be supporting each other more than ever, because the shit is well and truly hitting the fan, and to some extent we have a head start on some people, so that has to be for a reason, and we have to use it to help, I think. So one of the things that can never be denied is that this apparent movement of truth has been used just as much as everything else to control people and to throw people against each other. Some would even say that maybe that was the primal reason for it, because when you look at the way that people, even people who are supposed to be in the know, treat others if their view is contested in any way, it's actually quite scary. And that's one of the things I think that has hit me the most in all of this, is the way that people can be with others just because they think in a different way, and even if the person with the other view can put it across in a polite way, in a respectful way, they can still receive a lot of hatred and bitterness and anger from the people that just cannot take that in. Now you would have thought that was primarily the difference between people that are so-called awake and people that aren't, but it's also very much prevalent within the movement itself. So that's nothing to do with anything but people and humanity, and a lot of manipulation too, but primarily they manipulate what they know they can manipulate within us already. Yeah. So it's just ourselves that have these issues that some say we come here to do. That is the whole reason for this existence, to experience all of this and come across your faults and your darkness and iron out your darkness with your lightness type thing, I suppose. I'm sounding new age again now, but you see, it's very difficult so if you are somebody that hasn't been in this as long as others, so say for me, you're talking, as I say, 7-8 years, within that time I've done my best to look at as many things as I can, and I've always kept an open mind, and I've changed my mind on things, and I've freely admitted that, and that has to be part of it. You can't just stay in one. If you're rigid enough not to do that, then that's when the real problems arise. So when you haven't had that time to go into things in depth, that would probably give a much clearer, or no doubt give a much clearer understanding of the way forward. You're grasping, to a large extent you are grasping at straws, and you're taking in so much information on contradictory levels that the only thing you can do is try to figure it out within yourself, within what you have within yourself, and then stick with, as much as you can to what comes out the other end. And so that's all any of us can really do, and that's all I've done. I'm not saying I've got it right by any stretch, and I know I haven't in lots of ways, no doubt. And I know that a lot of the things I talk about are things that I've experienced about myself, which is why I speak about them, obviously. It's an uphill battle, it really is, and I'm not even sure if we ever totally overcome it. I don't know. But all you can do is try to do that, isn't it? And we all go through the hard parts in life, the emotional times when we feel so alone and we want something so badly, and it's all part of the training, isn't it, really? About you see, the other extreme is that, and this is something I came across in the last year or so, is the view that none of that is relevant in any way whatsoever. It's all about our own trip. Nobody else really exists. It's just us, and we shouldn't waste time with these emotions and feeling these things and wanting these things, because none of it is relevant anyway. And that's very difficult for a lot of us to do, because we have that within us, and that's why we are the people that we are, and that's why we do care so much, because of our love and our feelings of this nature. So to switch all of that off, for some, is very difficult. For others, it doesn't seem to be as hard. Maybe it's because they've trained themselves that way, or they just are that way. But they're all things we've all got to embrace about each other, and that's all can ever be done. So, and this is a positive message, by the way, really. It's just about, we have to live with each other and love each other, and try not to sort of let ourselves get grabbed by the dark side of resentment and hatred and all those nasty emotions. And that's been my battle, and I like to think I'm winning. I know I'm winning, so that's what I'm sharing, really. And that the only reason, again, is because I just want to share it, that's all.